If you're going to achieve anything of significance, you first have to know where you're headed. Your North Star, the goal that guides you, that keeps you focused when the world tries to pull you in 1,000 different directions. This is where consistency begins. Think about what truly matters to you. I'm not just talking about what pays the bills or what looks good on paper. What's the thing that gets your heart racing? The dream that lingers even when the noise around you fades. That's your North Star. It's your purpose, your passion, the vision of who you're meant to become. Finding that North Star takes reflection. It takes asking yourself the tough questions. What do I want my legacy to be? What do I want to contribute to the world? It's not always a loud, lightning bolt moment. Sometimes it's a quiet realization, a subtle pull that you've felt your whole life but never fully acknowledged. Listen to that voice. Take the time to figure out what success looks like to you, not what someone else defines it as. Once you know what you're working toward, you have to keep it front and center. Write it down. Say it out loud. Create a vision board. Do whatever it takes to remind yourself of that goal every single day. Because life will try to distract you. Challenges will arise. Opportunities will come and go. And you'll need a steady point to guide you through it all. That's why your North Star matters. The beauty of finding your North Star is that it simplifies decision-making. Every choice, every step forward becomes clearer. Does this path lead me closer to my goal? Or does it take me further away? When you can answer that question with certainty, you'll find it easier to keep showing up, to stay consistent. You'll understand why you need to keep pushing, even on the days when it feels impossible. So, before anything else, take the time to discover that guiding light. Because once you know where you're going, the path you need to walk becomes more visible. The energy to keep going, to remain consistent, will come from that clarity. Find your North Star. Hold it in your heart and let it lead the way. Consistency is not born in moments of triumph. It's forged in the daily grind. This is the hard truth. The road to success isn't paved with shortcuts or instant results. It's long, it's winding, and often it's downright difficult. But that's exactly why it works. To force yourself to be consistent, you have to embrace the grind, not as an obstacle, but as your most powerful ally. The grind is what happens after the excitement wears off. When the initial thrill of starting something new fades, it's the grind that remains. It's waking up early to train when no one's watching. It's putting in the hours at your craft long after the applause has died down. It's doing the small, often thankless tasks that build the foundation for something extraordinary. These are the moments when consistency is built, when you show up not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You see, talent can get your foot in the door, but it's consistency day after day, year after year that keeps you in the room. People often look at someone who's reached great heights and think, wow, they must have been born with it. But what they don't see are the countless hours of practice, the quiet sacrifices, and the relentless commitment that made it all possible. The grind tests you in ways success never could. It reveals your character. It teaches you to push through discomfort, boredom, and doubt. It makes you resilient, because when you're in the middle of that grind, You're not just building skills or completing tasks, you're building the kind of person who doesn't quit. You're forging an unshakable belief in your ability to persevere. But don't get it twisted. Embracing the grind doesn't mean you have to love every moment of it. Some days you won't. Some days you'll want to throw in the towel. That's normal. The trick is to keep going anyway, to trust that every step, no matter how small, is getting you closer to your North Star. When you hit those moments of doubt, remind yourself why you started, reconnect with your purpose, and keep moving forward. Over time, the grind becomes second nature. The more you show up, the more natural it feels. And before you know it, you'll look back and see how far you've come. You'll realize that all those small, consistent actions added up to something remarkable. That's the power of embracing the grind. So, when you're faced with the daily slog, don't run from it, lean into it. See it for what it really is, the training ground of greatness. This is where you grow, where you learn, and where you lay the foundation for success that lasts. Embrace the grind, and you'll find that consistency isn't a burden. It's your greatest strength. Failure is a word we're taught to avoid, to fear. But I'm here to tell you that failure isn't your enemy. In fact, failure is one of your greatest allies on the road to consistency and success. Why? Because failure shows you what you're made of. It tests your resolve. It teaches you lessons that triumph never could. When you fail, and you will fail, we all do. It's natural to feel frustrated or discouraged. But the key is not to let those feelings stop you. Instead, take a moment to reflect. What went wrong? What could you have done differently? What can you learn from this experience? Every failure is a lesson in disguise, a stepping stone to greater knowledge and, ultimately, greater success. By embracing failure as part of your journey, you strip it of its power to intimidate you. You turn it into a tool for growth. Think about some of the greatest achievers in history, people who changed the world, who left an undeniable mark. Every single one of them failed at some point. Thomas Edison famously said he didn't fail 1,000 times to invent the light bulb. He simply found 1,000 ways that didn't work. Michael Jordan talked about how he missed thousands of shots, lost hundreds of games, and was trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed over and over again. But it's precisely those failures that made him the legend he became. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a building block for it. Now, what does failure have to do with consistency? Everything. Because when you fail, you're faced with a choice. Do you give up, or do you keep going? Consistency is born in the moments when you decide to rise again, to dust yourself off, and to push forward. It's easy to be consistent when things are going well. But the true test of consistency comes when you've fallen short. Can you force yourself to keep going? Can you show up again the next day, ready to try one more time? If you can, you've tapped into a strength that most people never find. And here's another truth. The more you fail, the less frightening it becomes. You begin to see failure as a necessary part of progress. You understand that it's not permanent, that it doesn't define you, and that it's simply feedback. You learn to fail fast and fail forward to take the hit and keep moving. In doing so, you not only build resilience, but you also build trust in yourself. You start to believe that no matter what happens, you can handle it, you can adapt, you can grow, and you can keep going. So, don't run from failure. When it happens and it will lean into it, find the lesson, find the opportunity to grow. Force yourself to see it as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. And above all, keep showing up. Consistency is not about never failing. It's about never giving up when you do. That's how you turn setbacks into comebacks and challenges into achievements. Consistency is not about being perfect. It's about being accountable to yourself and your goals. It's about taking full ownership of your journey. No matter the obstacles or distractions that come your way, when you own your journey, you recognize that you are in control. You understand that no one else can walk this path for you, and no one else is responsible for keeping you on it. That's a powerful realization. It shifts you from a mindset of waiting and wishing to one of action and ownership. Owning your journey means showing up every day, even when the results aren't visible yet. It means accepting that progress isn't always linear. Some days will feel like giant leaps forward, while others may seem like you're standing still or even sliding back. But when you own your journey, you stay committed through it all. You take responsibility for your choices, your actions, and your mindset. And by doing so, you maintain the momentum to keep moving forward, no matter what. It also means embracing your individuality. Your journey won't look like anyone else's. And that's okay. In fact, that's the point. When you own your journey, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. Instead, you focus on what's meaningful to you. You understand that consistency is not about trying to be someone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, step by step, day by day. Owning your journey also means celebrating the small wins. Too often, we wait for the big, flashy moments to acknowledge our efforts. But real consistency is built on the small, everyday victories. Did you show up and put in the work today? That's a win. Did you learn something from a setback? That's progress. Each small step forward is part of the bigger picture, and by recognizing those moments, you stay motivated and inspired to continue. And perhaps most importantly, when you own your journey, you develop a deeper connection to your goals. Your why becomes clear and unwavering. You're not just going through the motions. You're driven by a purpose that matters to you. That purpose fuels your consistency. It reminds you why you started and why you must keep going. When you take ownership of your journey, you're no longer dependent on external factors. You're not waiting for inspiration or permission. You're choosing to move forward because you know it's worth it. So, own your journey. Take responsibility for every step you take, every choice you make, and every effort you put in. By doing so, you'll find that consistency becomes second nature, not because it's easy, but because you've embraced it as part of who you are. And when you own your journey, you're unstoppable. Tasks